Okay, think about your first love for a second. Now, what if you saw that person again years down the road, but not at a coffee shop or a class reunion? Imagine seeing them in the defendant's chair at a Nazi war crimes trial. That is the absolute bombshell that drops on law student Michael Berg in The Reader. And today, we are going to unpack this incredibly intense story of love, shame, and a secret that someone would rather die than reveal.
So Michael's in this courtroom for a university seminar, right? He's supposed to be looking at the horrors of the past from this safe academic distance. And then he sees her, Hannah Schmitz, the woman who was his entire world when he was a teenager. The shock is so intense, it's like a total system shutdown. He feels completely numb, totally disconnected from this person who he once knew so intimately.
And the charges against her? They're just monstrous. Hannah and 4 other women are on trial for being SS guards. They're accused of taking part in these monthly selections, basically deciding which women were too weak to work anymore and shipping them off to Auschwitz to be killed. But the most horrific charge, the one that's just unthinkable, that they locked hundreds of female prisoners inside a church during a bombing raid and just let them burn to death.
To even begin to understand how the woman he knew could be this person, we have to rewind. We have to go all the way back to how their story began. And it didn't start with romance or passion, but with a kid getting sick on the street and a surprising act of kindness from a total stranger. It all happened so fast. One day in October, 15-year-old Michael, who's sick with hepatitis, gets sick all over the sidewalk. This woman he's never met before finds him, cleans him up, and helps him get home. Months later, in February, he tracks her down to thank her. A week after that, pulled by this fascination he just can't shake, he goes back. A clumsy accident with some coal dust gets him filthy. She tells him to take a bath. And just like that, their secret, all-consuming affair begins. But here's the thing about their time together. It was anything but spontaneous. It followed this incredibly strict, unchanging pattern. A secret ritual that had to be performed in the exact same way every single time they met.
And this is where their whole relationship gets so peculiar. Just look at the first step. Before anything else could happen, Michael had to read to her. Homer, Tolstoy, it didn't matter who the author was. The reading itself was this non-negotiable prerequisite to intimacy, almost like she was starving to hear these stories. Only after he read aloud could they move on to the rest of their routine, showering, making love, and then just lying together. This became the unbreakable law of their relationship.
This whole affair was just a massive contradiction. On one hand, you had these moments of incredible tenderness, times when Michael felt truly happy and confident in his own skin for the very first time. But then, bam, these moments would be shattered by Hannah's terrifying outbursts of rage. She could turn cold and rigid in a heartbeat, sometimes even violent, leaving Michael completely bewildered, begging for forgiveness for something he didn't even realize he'd done.
So summer rolls around, and Michael's world starts to get bigger. He's making friends, spending his afternoons at the public pool, and for the first time his entire life doesn't revolve around his secret meetings with Hannah. And, inevitably, this new, open life starts to collide with their secret one, and it all leads to this quiet, devastating betrayal.
Michael becomes part of this tight group of friends. He feels like he's letting them in, telling them everything that's important in his life. But he never, ever mentions Hannah. He just pretends she doesn't exist. And he knows, deep down, he absolutely knows that by hiding her, he's disowning their entire relationship, that his silence is a betrayal all on its own.
And then comes the turning point. One afternoon, she's just there, standing at a distance at the pool, just watching him in his new life with his new friends. He sees her. Their eyes meet. But in that crucial moment, Michael just freezes. He doesn't run to her. He doesn't call out her name. He just hesitates.
And that hesitation, well, that was everything. The next day, Michael goes to her apartment like usual. He rings the bell. No answer. He finds out she quit her job that day. She gave up her apartment. She had vanished completely, without a single word, without a trace, almost as if she had never been there at all.
Which brings us right back to that courtroom. All these years later, Michael is watching this ghost from his past, and her totally bizarre, self-defeating behavior during the trial, well, it starts to unlock the whole mystery of who Hannah Schmitz really is.
You see, Hannah acts as if the trial is a place where you tell the absolute, literal truth, period. She has no concept of legal strategy, of the written motions, of the subtle arguments. She doesn't get the game that's being played,
a game where all the other defendants are lying and denying everything to save their own skin. So when she thinks something is true, she just admits it, no matter how bad it makes her look.
And this becomes painfully obvious during the testimony about the prisoner selections. The other defendants, they lie through their teeth. Nope, wasn't me. I don't remember that. But Hannah, when they ask her, she just admits it. Yes, I participated. Her stubborn honesty makes her look like the ringleader, the one who was most responsible. Even as she's trying to explain that they all did it, she is actively torching her own defense.
So you have to be asking, why? Why would anyone do this? Why would she basically convict herself? Michael starts putting the pieces together, and he realizes that all of her strange behavior, her rage when he once left her a note, her strange insistence on being read to, and her disastrous testimony now, it all stems from one single powerful cause. She is protecting a secret she finds so profoundly shameful she would literally rather be convicted as a monster than have anyone find it out.
And this leaves Michael with this impossible moral dilemma, because he finally figures out the secret. The reason she had him read to her, the reason she took the blame for a report she couldn't possibly have written, is that Hannah is illiterate. She can't read or write. And Michael realizes he holds the one piece of information that could change everything for her in court. But to use it would mean exposing the one thing she has spent her entire life hiding. Her shame was so deep, she preferred the label of murderer to the label of illiterate. So it leaves us with this question. If you held the key to someone's fate, but they would rather be condemned than have their deepest shame revealed, what would you do? What is justice in a situation like that?